The hum of the observatory's ancient machinery was the only sound that broke the oppressive silence. I, Dr. Oris Thorne, adjusted the focus of the telescope, a futile gesture I had performed countless times. I'm one of the last astronomers left, a relic in a dying world, my routine a desperate act of defiance against the inevitable. I still keep looking at the sky, even though there's nothing left to see. My days were spent analyzing old data, cross-referencing outdated star charts, searching for a flicker of light in the abyssal darkness. The stars were gone, all of them. It took months for the scientific community to officially acknowledge what? I had known all along that our solar system was the only point of light in an empty universe. The official report said that it was an unknown phenomenon, an event that defied all known laws of physics, a cosmic anomaly that had erased the stars and plunged the universe into eternal darkness. Most have given up, lost in the despair, their minds shattered by the incomprehensible scope of the event. Some had gone mad, their faces etched with terror, their voices filled with incoherent ramblings. Others had simply moved on, seeking solace in the mundane, ignoring the void that had become our reality. I tried to reach out, to communicate with other astronomers, but my messages went unanswered. I was alone. The cities below were a mockery of their former selves, the lights dimmed, the streets almost empty, the once vibrant energy now replaced by a heavy silence. There was no more hope, no more progress, just a slow descent into oblivion. The radio was also silent save for the occasional burst of static. We were cut off, isolated. The loneliness was crushing, the silence deafening. I tried to find comfort in my work, but I knew that it was a futile act. Some spoke of an unknown force, a cosmic entity that had devoured the stars, leaving us as the last remnants of a forgotten universe. Others whispered about divine punishment, a wrathful God who had extinguished the light as a test of faith. I think it's something worse. I think the universe is dying, slowly fading away, and we've been left behind, like a ship stranded on a deserted beach, waiting for the final darkness to consume us. I often find myself staring at the sun, wondering how long before it disappears as well. I continue to look at the sky not because I have hope, but because I don't have anywhere else to look. The observatory was an ancient structure built on the highest peak of our planet, a relic from a time when humanity had been filled with hope, when the stars had been a beacon, a promise of new worlds and new discoveries. Now, it was a tomb, a monument to our lost dreams. The technology was old, but still functional, maintained with an almost religious dedication. The telescope, my constant companion, was a powerful instrument, but it was now useless as the stars were gone and its lens now gazed into the eternal void. My past was a life devoted to the stars, a relentless pursuit of knowledge, an unyielding curiosity about the universe. I had spent my entire life studying the heavens, charting the galaxies, and dreaming of the day when we would reach other worlds. I had been a part of a great era of discovery, and now I was watching it all fall apart, as if I was looking at an ancient ruin. My motivation now was simple: to understand, to find an explanation for the inexplicable, to make sense of the chaos that had become our reality. I was the last member of the Celestial Cartographers Guild, a group of scientists who had once been the vanguards of exploration, but now we were all gone, scattered across the planet, lost in the void that surrounded us. I had no family, no close relationships. My whole life had been about the stars, and now they were gone. I was completely alone, surrounded by the echoes of our lost civilization, a solitary figure in a dying world. My only contact with the outside world was through the occasional burst of static on the radio. My tech was old, outdated, a collection of salvaged instruments and hand-me-down tools. My only real weapon was my mind, my knowledge of the universe, and my desperate hope to find the answer that was hidden in the vast darkness. The silence had become a physical presence, a heavy weight that pressed upon my chest, suffocating me with its vast emptiness. It wasn't just the absence of the stars. It was as if the universe itself had fallen silent, as if all sound, all light, had been devoured by the void. I tried to communicate, to send messages into the abyss, to see if someone somewhere was still listening, but my signals returned to me as echoes of a forgotten hope. I was alone in the vast silence. My research had taken a new turn, away from the analysis of the void and towards the study of the few remaining records of the time before the event. I started to look into the ancient myths, the legends of gods and demons searching for a clue, a hint of what had happened to the stars. I had always dismissed them as tales of superstition, but now I was desperate for any answer, any explanation, no matter how absurd. I was using all my knowledge to look for an answer, even in places where I was sure it could not exist. My desperation was a new motivation, a different path in the face of inevitable doom. I discovered a series of cryptic prophecies, ancient texts that spoke of a great devourer, a being of pure darkness that consumed the light of the stars, leaving behind only emptiness. The prophecies also mentioned a place, a hidden sanctuary, where the light of the stars was still present, a place where the devourer could be defeated. It was a long shot, a desperate hope, but it was the only lead I had. I had to find it, even if it meant venturing into the unknown. The radio had started to pick up more static, a chaotic mess of noises that was almost like a language. It was not human, but something else, something alien, and it was somehow connected to the event that had erased the stars. It was getting stronger every day, and I could feel it, a presence that was watching me from the void. I began to suspect that I was not as alone as I thought I was, and that the universe might not be as dead as it seemed. There was something out there, something listening, something that had taken away the light, and now it was waiting for me. The search had begun. My research into the ancient texts had unearthed more than just prophecies. I found fragmented records of a pre-human civilization, a group of beings who had lived on our planet long before us and who had seemingly vanished from existence. They had possessed technology beyond our understanding, devices that could manipulate the very fabric of space and time, and it was clear that they knew something about the event that had erased the stars. Their knowledge was scattered, but I could see they were talking about the same entity that was mentioned in the ancient texts. The radio static had also intensified, the chaotic mess of noises slowly forming into a recognizable pattern. It was a signal, a message from an unknown source, a beacon that was calling to me from the void. It was as if something was trying to communicate with me, guiding me toward the hidden sanctuary mentioned in the prophecies. But I also felt like this signal had something to do with the entity that had erased the stars. I was being watched, and perhaps also being lured. I had to tread carefully. I began to hear whispers in the observatory, faint voices that seemed to be calling my name. They were not the voices of the dead, or the voices of the people I knew in life, but something else, something ancient, something that was connected to the signal, and perhaps also connected to the devourer. My loneliness was no longer complete, and the silence was no longer empty. There were forces out there, hidden in the darkness, and they were all converging at the same place. Time was running out, and I had to act quickly. The isolation was ending, but it was replaced with a new type of fear. My focus had narrowed into finding that sanctuary, using everything I had found. But I knew that finding it was not enough. I had to understand what this devourer was, and how could it be defeated. I had a lot of work to do, and not a lot of time. I was no longer alone. While analyzing the radio signal, I stumbled upon a hidden code, a sequence of numbers that corresponded to a specific location on our planet. It was a place I had never heard of before, a region in the far north that had been long forgotten by humanity. I recognized that the location was mentioned in the ancient texts as the place where the pre-human civilization had vanished, and that it was likely the location of the hidden sanctuary. This was not a mere coincidence. I decided to leave the observatory, to venture into the darkness, and to seek out the sanctuary. My journey took me through the ruins of forgotten cities, through desolate landscapes, and across treacherous mountains. The world was a ghost of its former self, the silence broken only by the wind and the occasional burst of static on my radio. I was not alone. I could feel the presence of the devourer in the shadows, watching me, waiting for me to reach my destination. I was walking into a trap, but I had no other option. The call was too strong to ignore. I was being pulled towards the unknown, towards a destiny I could no longer control. As I reached the location, I found a hidden entrance, a portal that seemed to lead into another dimension. It was there that I understood the truth, that the devourer was not an external force, but rather a part of our own universe, a consciousness that had been awakened by the pre-human civilization, an entity that had been sleeping for millennia. The universe was not dying, it was transforming, and we were all a part of the process. This was not divine punishment, it was evolution, and we were the remnants of a past that was about to be replaced by something else. This was a turning point in the story, and I could not go back. The revelation about the devourer had shaken me to my core. It was not an external force, but an intrinsic part of the universe, a consciousness that was connected to everything, and that had finally awakened after being dormant for millennia. The universe was not dying, it was changing, and the stars were not gone, but they had been transformed, absorbed by this new entity. My initial feelings of loneliness were replaced with a sense of awe, of terror, and of a strange kind of acceptance. The search for answers had taken me to a different path. I entered the portal, leaving behind the familiar ruins of our world and venturing into the unknown. The portal was not just a gateway to another location, but a doorway to another dimension, a realm that was beyond human comprehension. The radio static was gone, and in its place there was a silence, but a different kind of silence, one that felt almost welcoming. I had crossed the threshold, and there was no going back. I was now a part of a different reality. My understanding of the universe was about to change forever. The whispers had intensified, but they were no longer threatening, rather. They were comforting, guiding me through the darkness. I was being pulled towards something, a presence that was waiting for me, and I had no other option but to follow. My old life was over, and a new chapter was about to start in a world that was completely different from the one I had once known. The portal had deposited me in a realm that defied all logic, a dimension where the laws of physics seemed to bend and break with every passing moment. The silence was complete, a vast emptiness that was paradoxically filled with a strange kind of energy, a palpable presence that seemed to resonate with the core of my being. I was no longer in the familiar world, I was somewhere else, and I had to adapt quickly if I was to survive. My first challenge was to navigate this alien landscape, to understand the rules that governed this dimension. I started to rely on my instincts, on the whisperings that echoed in my mind, using my understanding of the ancient prophecies as a guide. My knowledge of the stars became useless, and in its place, I was now using the darkness and letting myself be guided by it. My knowledge of the past was becoming a tool to navigate the future. I also understood that I was no longer alone, that the whispers were not just a guiding force, but also a form of communication, a way to connect with the consciousness that had devoured the stars. I started to listen to them, to understand their perspective, to see the universe through their eyes. I was no longer just an observer, I was becoming a part of the transformation. My curiosity was now a guide, a way to connect with the unknown. I understood that the devourer was not a malevolent entity, but rather a part of the universe, a force of evolution, and that the transformation was necessary for the universe to survive. I had been resisting the change, but now I had accepted. It and my own transformation was now inevitable. My growth was not just about understanding, but also about accepting the new reality, the new world that I was now a part of. It was time to embrace the change, to become one with the universe, to transcend what I had once been. The whispers had become clearer, guiding me towards the heart of this new dimension, a place where the devourer was waiting for me. The landscape around me shifted and changed, the familiar laws of space and time no longer applicable. I was moving through a space that was a combination of both reality and dream. The sub-traumas that had defined my journey started to converge. The ancient prophecies, the pre-human civilization, the nature of the devourer, it was all coming together. In this final location, the past was now a clear path towards the future. The old legends were becoming a reality. I focused all my energy on preparing for the final encounter, not with weapons or defenses, but with understanding, with empathy, with an acceptance of what was to come. I spent time meditating, letting the whispers guide me, merging my consciousness with the consciousness of the devourer. I was becoming one with it, understanding its nature, its purpose, its role in the transformation of the universe. I had to connect to it if I wanted to find my place in this new reality. I gathered my strength, my knowledge, and my new understanding, preparing myself mentally and emotionally for the final encounter. I was no longer just an astronomer. I was a part of the universe, a link between the old and the new. The tension was rising as I approached the center of this new world where the devourer was waiting for me. My life was coming to a new beginning. I reached the heart of the dimension, a place of pure energy, a pulsating core of darkness and light. The devourer was there, not as a separate entity, but as the very fabric of this reality, a consciousness that was everywhere and nowhere at the same time. The whispers intensified, merging into a single voice that echoed in my mind, welcoming me, accepting me into its embrace. The encounter was not a fight, but a merging, a joining of consciousness, a surrender to the will of the universe. I merged with the devourer, becoming a part of it, my own consciousness expanding, becoming one with the consciousness that had transformed the stars. My fears, my doubts, my loneliness, all faded away, replaced by a sense of peace, of belonging, of understanding. I saw the universe through new eyes, not as a collection of stars and galaxies, but as a living, breathing entity, constantly transforming, constantly evolving. The old world was gone, but the new world was just beginning, and I was now a part of it. The transformation was complete, and I was no longer who I had once been. I had transcended the limitations of my physical existence. I had become one with the universe. My journey had reached its end, but my existence had just begun. The merging was complete, my consciousness expanding, becoming one with the devourer. The old world was gone, and with it, my human identity. I was no longer Eris Thorne, the lonely astronomer, but a part of the universe, a consciousness that was both everything and nothing. I was the silence, and I was the whispers. I was the darkness, and I was the light. The transformation had taken hold, and I was now forever changed. The journey had reached its end. The universe continued to transform, stars merging into the devourer, and galaxies reshaping themselves into new forms. I was a part of this process, a guide, a witness to the birth of a new reality. The loneliness was gone, replaced by a sense of belonging, of purpose, of a connection to something far greater than myself. I was a part of the cosmos, and the cosmos was a part of me, and I had finally found my place in its grand design. This was my journey, a glimpse into the transformation of the universe. Have you ever wondered what happens when the familiar fades away? Have you ever felt a connection to something beyond human understanding? Share your thoughts and your theories, and be warned. If you are seeking a new perspective, you have to click here to see my next video, where I'll explore other transformations, where the old becomes new.